Well, I guess it's supposed to be a good week when our hockey team wins, our gymnastics team wins, our women's basketball is winning, and the Detroit Lions had an unbelievable night, I guess, last night. Any of you there? No. None of you guys went? Damn. Oh, a couple went, yeah. Pretty cool, huh? That's great, man. Happy for all of them. As I told you earlier in the year, you know, I was hoping after Christmas you'd start to get a real good feel where everybody is, and I think we started to, you know, we started looking at some teams that were struggling a little bit. Washington was one of them, and Oregon was one that was the other way, and then all of a sudden, you know, Illinois goes out there and beats them by 30, and then Maryland, who was really playing well, goes out there and loses two. I think it's going to be hard on fans, hard on media, hard on coaches, hard on everybody to know this is going to be the norm, I think. You know, Washington, after not looking as good, you know, beat a good Maryland team, and then, you know, it was a tie game last night with 30 seconds left, and after being down big early. So I think you're seeing what I said early, that all these teams are good. Travel, different things is going to make a difference in teams' play sometimes. Right now, we return to Big Ten play with I think, an impressive win. I mean, there's a team that had beaten Kentucky by 20 and has a very good team. We're on the road. Get a lead. Yes, we lose the lead, but we bounce back. I thought Jay Nakin's in the locker room after the game when we got back here, asked if he could say something, and the first thing he said was, hey, a year ago we lost 5 games like this, and now we came back and won one. So in a sick sort of way, does it make it better that we had to win it the way we did? Last 8 minutes of the game, we didn't have a turnover after we turned the ball over a lot early. We executed well. We went on an 8-0 run ourselves, and I thought that spoke volumes about our team. Jaden is really starting to emerge, averaging almost 16 a game in the last 5 games. He's playing better. He's doing better. I think that, you know, still like to have him rebounding more. I'm always looking for something more, but we're making some progress there. We continue to get great contributions off the bench, too. You know, Cohen, Book were really important in the last game. Jace has been consistent and maybe still my most efficient player. And I thought Jeremy and Jackson played really well, battled down the stretch, and that was where the game was won. As for Washington, you know, new team in the league. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're sitting here saying, hey, we play a conference game Thursday against the University of Washington. But they are coming off this big win, as I said, against Maryland, and an impressive performance over Illinois, who seems to be the hottest team in our league right now. And they've also beat a good Washington State team. So they have kind of lived up to things that I said earlier, that every team is going to be effective in one way. They do have arguably one of the better players in the country in Ozenbor, you know, a 6'8", 6'9" kid who leads them in scoring, rebounding, assists, second and block shots. He kind of does a little bit of everything. He doesn't always look the part, but he sure does make the part. He's got incredible basketball skills as far as putting the ball on the floor, finding guys open, can score it down there with either hand, and is maybe as good a passer out of double teams as I've seen. They are getting some play out of their guards. The Harris kid has played well, and last night I think Davis had 7 or 8 threes in the game, and he is a shooter that played at Butler. He's played in this building last year, had 1 3 against us, but he's emerging now, something they need, better three-point shooting, and last night he was unconscious at times. So questions, I'll take them.
Hey, Tom, I want to touch on Jaden's point. I was kind of thinking about that for a while. It seems it's been elusive, this thing of coming from behind and getting down. And you've been talking about that, I want to say, the past few seasons. Talk about the importance of being able to do that. And secondly, you talked about the Lions. Could there be any kind of parallel to that same kind of grit coming from behind and still fighting?
God, I hope so. I hope so. I don't know what's my opportunity to go for 4th and 2 or 3, but other than that, I hope there is. The grit that they showed is kind of what you want, but I think we showed some grit too, and I think we've done that, but coming from behind like we did when last year we lost 5 of those, must have hit home to Jaden, because he's the one that asked to speak about it and really talk to the whole team about it. So I think anytime you never feel you're out of a game, it's important, because you're going to have your good days and your bad days. And as good as this league is right now, with the number of teams that are more even, there's going to be some ups and downs with the travel to the West Coast and back for us, or for them, the East Coast and back. I mean, I guess it creates some issues. I haven't done it yet, so I really don't know, but it sure seems that way a little bit, although Illinois, I guess, handled it pretty well at Oregon. But we'll see. I think it is a good thing. I'm glad Jaden brought it up, to be honest.
Tom, one of the things Diebler kept mentioning at Ohio State was how inexperienced they were playing together. And I'm wondering and obviously that's going to happen more and more in this day and age, as you've played against teams that have 10 new players and other things, and how much of a premium that's going to be sort of for you, and do you see the benefits even when you've got youth of guys who've been together for at least a year and all that right now?
Well, I think anybody's kidding themselves. There's not benefits, but every time I say that, somebody will rear its ugly head and something will happen the other way. I mean, they're going to bring a team in here with a lot of transfers and a lot of different players, and I don't know how that'll go, but I think consistency is what we're all looking for, and usually consistency is when there's comfort level. When there's comfort level, it means guys kind of know each other and have a feel. Now, in saying all that, even us ourselves, we got a lot of new guys in new positions, not positions guard or forward as much as being the number 1 guy in the scouting report, number 2, number 3. Everybody's got to move around, but I do think the familiarity we have with each other has helped us. I do think we can, you look at North Carolina, we went real small because we had to, because they went small. We on other teams, we've gone real big. So we do have some versatility in that. And especially at the guard positions, we have some stability. Our most inexperienced guy is Jace, and he's been our most efficient guy. So we got a lot of things, I think, going our way, but I'm not sleeping any better right now, because I look at some of these leagues. The SEC is very good, but some of these other leagues, you get a lot of breaks during games or during the stretches. I don't see many breaks during the stretches here as we move forward after watching some of these teams play, and some of the teams that you would have questioned. You always question Penn State. They're damn good. Just when you were saying Indiana wasn't playing, now they're really starting to catch their stride. Wisconsin, they were really good, then they struggled a little bit, and they scored 126 or 120 points in the last game and hit 20-some threes. This is what you're going to get. UCLA is playing very well. USC played a lot better than they were playing early. So there's just so many good teams and so many different factors right now. The more familiarity you have with each other, the more consistency you have, I think the better you're going to be.
I'm wondering about kind of what you touched on there a little bit with some of those West Coast teams. I mean, you've obviously played mixed team, I think once or twice since he's been out there at UCLA. But what are the maybe stylistic differences between the West Coast and the Big Ten that you have to adjust to and that they have to adjust to on the other end?
Well, there's 4 different coaches out there. Danny has done a great job at Washington, but he did a great job at Utah State. And, so this team is very well coached. But usually the West Coast teams you'd think of, I guess you would have thought of as softer. This team, Diallo, I mean, they got some guys that come after you. Ozenberger, they got the big kid that was at Nebraska is now Bottenbach, or he's there, and so physical kid, you know. When you look at Mick Cronin, I mean, it don't matter if he played on Mars, his teams are going to come after you, you know. And USC, you know, smaller but very aggressive. So, and then Oregon, I mean, he's always had size, he's always had good big guys, and now he's got a great guard. So I don't know if there's as much difference. And a lot of the teams out there used to be West Coast players. Now they're players from all over the country, more with the transfer portal. So it's different. I think all these teams are playing a similar style. You know, it's nose to the grindstone and get it done. And I've been impressed with all the teams, to be honest with you.
With Asapo, you mentioned him. Does he remind you of anybody? And, you know, who are the guys that you're looking at in your team that are going to be key in trying to slow him down?
Well, our bigs are going to have to guard him, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, he's got some Charles Barkley in him that he's bigger, but, I mean, he can pass it. He can score it. He is a phenomenal passer. I mean, he's as good a passing big man as I've seen in a long, long time. He can do it off the dribble. He can do it off the double team. He can do it out of the post. He can do it with his right hand, and he can do it with his left hand. So hard guy to double because he is such a good passer, and it, like, doesn't phase him, you know. So, you know, it'll be by committee, and then we'll figure out, you know, you're going to double him, you're not, you know, different things that you can do. But he's a load. What's happened to them now is the Davis kid started making shots, and the Diallo kid, who wasn't playing as much early, I mean, he was a big-time recruit, is playing better, and they got some size at times. You know, they go 6'4", 6'5" at the guards, and they're physical kids. So it's different West Coast teams than maybe we're used to seeing.
Tom, the past couple of press conferences, you've mentioned how you want your team to have I think the word maturity, to take practices into games. And I'm curious, why does that take maturity? What about maturity causes that?
Yeah, you know, I think the more mature you are, the more you realize that don't read your press clippings, don't read what people say, don't listen to what people say. You've been through the wars. Maturity is also experience, you know. And like, I'm not sleeping any better today than I was sleeping last year when we were 7-5 or whatever we are, because I know what's at stake. I know what's right around the corner. I know that every game is going to be that kind of game. I really believe that too. And people that don't must not have watched any games on TV, you know. And but it's happening everywhere. Sometimes maybe they're not playing certain people, like pro sports, football, but some of those teams played all their people and still lost, you know, were upset. I mean, I just think people are having trouble handling success in general. And I want to make sure that my team's mature enough, but also they're maybe hungry enough to not to be satisfied. You know, it's so easy to be satisfied nowadays. And I don't want to be satisfied till the season's over, then I want to be satisfied.
I guess in that sense, the last game obviously wasn't, you know, the cleanest performance, and there's a lot to work on. Is that almost the best of both worlds for you, that, hey, there's a lot to work on, you can get guys to focus, but
yeah,
it also isn't a blemish?
It really was, and I think that's the way Jaden kind of put it, and I kind of agreed with him on that. But at the same time, you know, we're sitting there and I'm saying, you know, you constantly as a coach, you say, well, we didn't play that good. We turned the ball over too much. You know, what you forget is that team beat Kentucky by 20. That's a good team too. You know, sometimes, as they say, good offense beats good defense. I mean, I saw some things in the game last night. I watched a little bit of the Lions game. You know, there were some unbelievable catches that were very good defense. Offense just made a better play. And I really believe that's the way it is right now, that you got to remember the other team's good too. You know, we have this perception we're 12-2. You know, so what? I mean, so there's a bunch of teams 11-3. Does that mean that we're up here and they're down here? You know, It's not that way. There's a lot of good teams out there, a lot of good players. What most teams have, maybe not quite the togetherness yet, but most teams have more experience because most transfers seem to be juniors and seniors or even the grad students. So there's more experience in there, which means there's a little more size, a little more toughness, a little more been through the wars. And that sometimes wins out for a game or two. I still think at the end of the day, you got to have experience and you got to have togetherness. And if those two come together and you keep away from the dirt bags and the distractions, then you got a chance.
Tom, all that being said, at a 12-2 compared to where you were last year, I think it's your best start in 3 years. Is there still some sense of gratification for where you guys are at moving forward with obviously still stuff to work on, and you get any message into Magic for getting his presidential medal?
I did. That was, and that should be talked about. I mean, it was, to get the award he got, I called his brother right away, and so because I couldn't get him, but I did get a message to him, and I think that's great for everybody, but I think it's great for our university and for Michigan State to have one of our guys, one of our former guys, get such a prestigious honor. And as I read through, why he got the award, I mean, you realize how many things he did, and he stood out there when he was going through a tough time and took the bullets and took, the people talking, and he became an advocate for it. And I have always had tremendous respect for all 40 years since the first day I met him, but it just seems to be growing now. And that's what's cool, that's what makes me keep wanting to go, He's getting better right now. He's getting older and he's getting better. He's doing more. And people are recognizing that, and I'm really, really proud of him for that. So from all of us here, Irvin, congratulations. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't, part one. There really is, but, it's stepping softly on it, like I do want to appreciate what we've done. I do think we've done a lot. I do think we've played different ways. I think we won different ways. We've shot it well, we've shot it poorly. We've rebounded well, we've rebounded average. We've turned it over 9 times, we've turned it over 17 times. Somehow those all got to come together. If they do, you go from good to great. And that's kind of what we're working on right now. But one thing I've been told a lot in my career, especially the last 10 years, is, enjoy some of the journey. And so I'd be probably remiss if I didn't act like I'm excited on how this team has come together. I'm excited on, we're playing a lot of people and still getting a lot out of it. I'm excited at the camaraderie and chemistry within the team. But we haven't faced a lot of adversity yet. I mean, as fast as you go, just think, Oregon was rated 8th, and they almost lost 2 in a row. Maryland was ranked, or unranked, but everybody thought really good, and they go out and get spanked twice. Right now, I would say that everybody better prepare for that stretch. Some of it will be because of your play. Some of it will be because of the schedule, not only who you're playing, but where you're playing them. And I don't think anybody's going through this league with 1 or 2 losses. I think it's going to be one of those years where who knows how it's going to end up. I don't. But you better prepare for those 2 and 3 game losing streaks and how you handle them, and what you do after that to regroup and regain the confidence that you're probably going to lose during that stretch.
Speaking of grit, did I see you at Wrigley Field Saturday night? Were you in Chicago?
I did. I decided that my son wanted to go, and I said, if we win the game, we were off Saturday, and so I did go over to that game, and I was it was great. I actually went to a little function before with the president and the AD, and every fan base has their fan bases, but I think in Chicago, Michigan State's been very solid, and it was it was a great setting, great opportunity. And you know me, I'm into memory makers. And I told Adam this, that, you know, it might not seem because it was so cold, and he tried to gut it out, be a Youper, not wear a hat, you know, which I was proud of. And he's got frostbitten ears right now, but who cares? His team won a big game at the end. And but it was the camaraderie of everybody, and I think we've got a lot of things going well here right now, and we're part of that, but he's a big part of it, and Robin's a big part of it, and gymnastics is a big part. You know, we're doing our part here in the winter so far. Long way to go yet, but incredible setting.
Adam said something that struck me a few weeks ago. He said he'd rather his team play well and lose than play crummy and steal a game. I don't know if you feel quite that way. Do you?
Adam, this is for you. An ugly win is better than a pretty loss. And I think you got to read between the lines as what he's saying. What he's saying is you want that consistency of playing solid, playing good, doing your job, taking care of the things you got to take care of. But he's in the early stages of his head coaching career. And I'll make sure that I agree with him, if you want the truth. Behind closed doors in my office, I would agree with him. Unfortunately, you people, the 600,000 living alums, the recruits, the everybody else, 4 days later, they don't know how you played. They just care if you've won or lost. So I'll have a trip to the hockey building and inform them that that's nice for public talk, but take the win any way you can get it, and just then build on, you know, what you didn't do well. Like, first thing we came back, we got to clean up our turnovers. Easier to say that after a win than after a loss. So great respect. Number one in the country. He'll learn he's out of his mind.
Tom, you emphasize that you're not trying to change the college landscape anymore. You're going to focus on Michigan State. However, when you reference the transfer portal and juniors and seniors, trying to get your thought on this proposed idea of junior college not counting against eligibility.
You know, 50 year I heard last week. I have no idea. I'm not as ingrained in that as I was, to be very honest with you. And I mean, if you go to junior college 2 years and that doesn't count, and then you get 5 years, I guess universities would be happy because they wouldn't have insurance issues. You'd be on Medicare by the time you got finished, and they wouldn't have to worry. The government will take care of you. But I don't know. I really don't. I really haven't paid attention to it. I can say that because of my dumb statement that I have no clue what that means. I don't know. Maybe pretty soon we wouldn't even have years. I just play until one of them done playing. There are no rules, so I put some in. There's smarter people than me making those decisions.
Does it make you think development, just the concept, even, or does it sound good for development of an athlete to have more time to play places and to make it potentially here somewhere else?
Well, when you say make it, what does make it mean?
Be able to be a product at the end of the day that a great program will look at and say this could be a good person for us because they have a little bit more time to develop along the way before they get here or somewhere else.
Yeah, I think in theory that's really good, but it's like in theory, why isn't college a good progression for pro ball when first thing you hear is, well, he's a sophomore, he's getting too old, you know? I mean, I don't know. I think it's a great question. I'm just a bad guy to answer it too because I'm not going to worry about it, and I really don't understand it all. Every day I wake up, there's a new rule. You know, the 5th-year thing I never heard about. 3 years ago I would have been on top of all that because I think I would have been involved in it, but I'm not sure coaches in general are involved in any of that anymore.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Chris, we'll go Chris and then Jim.
Wanted to kind of look at your fives and just the job that they've done both individually and collectively with Jackson and Shimon, I guess, how has that changed you from a year ago?
Well, I think we can throw it in there and score it. There's nothing against. Maybe we didn't do a good enough job with what we had a year ago. You know, it doesn't always fall on the player. Sometimes it falls on the coach. So it is different. The reason it's different, you know, maybe I deserved blame last year and credit this year, or maybe the players are doing a better job. I mean, we do have a variety of things, you know. Coop, we're still going to get Coop going because Coop has been, we thought Coop would be really solid, and there's things he's really solid at, but we haven't given up on him. We actually, if you think of one of our biggest wins, North Carolina, we played Book at the 5 for 15 minutes in that game, you know. What we have is versatility, and we've been able to play differently with different guys. But with the versatility has gone some consistency. Somebody is doing their job out of that group, and that creates maybe one guy plays more minutes one game, less minutes another game, but they have really frickin' fracked it together, and I think we've become pretty solid in that area because of that.
One of the products of that is Sabala makes some plays and then he starts getting double teamed. Is that kind of a new thing for him as you take steps as a team? There are other guys making turnovers, but that's another step I would imagine Sabala getting.
One of the things we talked about in the meeting today, you know, we have to spend a little more time on post doubles in practice because we never had that problem. Nobody was doubling our posts. And a very good point you bring up, and something that we brought up this morning. So we beat you to it, but you are barking up the right tree. I mean, all those kind of things now, as different people have success, they're covered different. You know, we were looking at some of their players that were really good early and now are struggling. And I said, you know, scouting reports, conference season gets in, people are getting more used to people because it was such a, I mean, you can't imagine what scouting was like the first month. I mean, we were looking at film from 3 different schools, you know, so now it's getting a little more stable, and I think that's going to help some as far as teams having some togetherness. It's going to hurt some because in this league, people are going to get scouted and people are going to take away those strengths.
Also, as far as the other turnovers go, when you categorize them, were there 2 or 3 or 4 that might have been just a little more casual? I mean, there's going to be turnovers when you try to play fast and so forth, but were there some where the screws got a little loose there? That can happen when you start winning games.
Yeah, I think we got a little loose. You know, I don't think there's any reason why if you know, if you're passing more in football, you're probably going to have a turnover. But, you know, teams went from passing 10 times to 30 times a game. That doesn't mean you should have 3 and 4 more times that you turn it over. In fact, look at it the other way. Maybe you should have more practice in handling that stuff and do a better job. And, you know, we haven't had anybody with one of these monster turnover days. You know, we had 5 turnovers. It seems like we're getting 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 2, maybe 3 once in a while. But I would categorize, unfortunately, a decent amount of our turnovers, to use the tennis phrase, unforced. And, you know, maybe that's not giving enough credit to some teams, but I think I do give credit to teams. So loose, casual, you know, I mean, like the first play of the game, Jackson gets a travel, trying to maybe do something a little bit more than he should be doing right now. I think as you have success, you try to sometimes do more instead of keep it simple, stupid, as they say, you know, the old KISS theory. So we're getting better. That was the only area that I think we've gotten a little worse at. Now we've got to clean that up. Anything else? Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See you later.